Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy and we're back with another video. Today we're going to do the Monk Starter Guide for Season 26, The Echoing Nightmares Diablo 3. Season starts in just 3 days, really excited for it, can't wait. And today we're talking about the S tier of S tiers, the Monk, the Inner Monk specifically. This is definitely for solo casuals, the best start in the game. I've been away for a few days, so I would have loved to have made some more build-up material content. I have scripted some videos whilst grabbing some time on holiday, so hopefully speaking there'll be some more videos coming very, very soon. But today what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the Monk, the starter guide. We're going to go from level 1 to Endgame, so this is going to be a fresh character, and we're going to go all the way up until the Echoing Nightmares, and talk about all sorts of stuff to help you build your Monk for the season. Or if you want to look at it this way, it's from 0 to hero, and if you prefer, beta soy boy to alpha giga chad, and the Monk, Inner Monk, out the box is completely alpha giga chad. Cannot stress this enough. Welcome if you are new, do consider subscribing. We're going to be hammering Diablo 3 probably for the next couple of weeks on videos. I'm very tempted to check out Diablo 2 Resurrected's ladder launch. We'll play that by ear a little bit, and Diablo Immortal, when that does come along, we will be covering. I've put timestamps. I'm not sure if I'll be bothered to actually do those. Maybe, probably not, I'm lazy. But what there will be is a link to this document, so you can always download it, make a copy of it yourself, edit it, look at it offline. You will have access to it. Video links will be in the description. I've got some Monk guides done. We haven't really touched on Monk for a little while, other than for the seasonal themes. So we've had the Soul Shards was the last one, the Ethereals was the one before, so I'm going to try and redo a couple of the Monk guides either very early in the season or before if I can, because I think it's probably worth a little fresh look without any of the kind of bells and whistles of the last couple of season themes. As always guys, thumbs up brightens my day. So what is new for Season 26? Well, for leveling, nothing. It is Echoing Nightmares season theme doesn't apply to leveling. You can't do it until after 70, so it is kind of how it has been for the last few years. But when we do get to 70, we're going to get this big new XP boost for the new mode, which is called the Echoing Nightmares. Now the XP is nerfed, but if we take a look at what wudijo is saying, obviously huge community member in the D3 community, he's suggesting it's going to be pretty good. Probably if you get to wave 150, which is kind of the XP cap for the Echoing Nightmares, it's about doing a GR139. You should be able to get that done in 2-3 minutes with a really good on-point build, so tons of XP. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. What is the Echoing Nightmares? Well, it's a wave-based mode. It ends on death or overwhelm. So you spawn in on the map. There's a handful of maps, not a ton, but a handful. There are 4 pylons. You've got power, conduit, speed, and channeling. And you just have to keep defeating waves and waves of enemies. It ends if you die. It ends if you don't defeat the waves quick enough. There's elemental effects, there's bosses, there's elites. It's a lot of fun. A new endgame mode. I never thought we'd see this in Diablo 3, so very excited for it. Now to open one of these things, you're going to need a petrified scream. You're going to get these from greater rifts, so it's going to drop at the end of a rift, a little bit like a key. Now on PTR it was just every single time you did your GR, you got yourself a petrified scream. That's not going to be the case on live. We don't know the exact drop rate. It could be 1 in 10, it could be 1 in 50, it could be 1 in 100. Who knows? We're going to have to see. I'm hoping it's very common. For us casual players, it would be great to do the Echoing Nightmares as much as possible to really help grind out the XP. And honestly, the best reward for the Echoing Nightmares, I think, is the Augment Gems. So at the end of an Echoing Nightmare, you're going to get something called a Whisper of Atonement, provided you reach far enough into the waves. Shouldn't be too much of a problem with a decent build. And this is like a free Augment Gem. It starts, finishes at 125. You get it, and you can go past that. So if you do wave 106, you get a 106 gem. If you do wave 120, you get a 121. Caps out at 125, and it's going to be a really good way to augment multiple builds very fast. So I'm really excited for that. That is definitely going to be the biggest reward as far as I can see. Some important dates. The season starts in 3 days, 15th of April. As you say, very excited. Get those prayers into RNGesus. for good luck opening night. Do not do your challenge drift that reset yesterday, 11th of April, because otherwise you're going to be big sad because you're going to miss out on your challenge drift goodie bag, which is very important for the monk. Very, very important. Once the season is live, so after 4 p.m. UK time for me, I'm going to probably create a new character or rebirth an old one. You can do 3 rebirths a season. All this does is it resets your character to level 1. Anything in their inventory and their stash, like on the character stash, it sends to your mailbox. You just have to collect it and don't lose it. And it will basically turn an existing character back into a seasonal one. Once you have made a character, log in. I like to set foot in Sanctuary, so I load into a game, walk around a little bit, just for a second or so, and then log straight back out. That way I know that the game has registered me as a seasonal player. I'll then beat the challenge drift. I would highly recommend watching in advance raxx or wudijo's guide on it. Raxx has definitely got his up. They are up this morning. You can have a practice. That is not a bad idea. Just don't actually kill the guardian and beat it, because as I say, big sad. If you do struggle, I haven't watched Raxx's video, so I've got no idea whether it's a hard one or not. That's what she said. If you do struggle, you can always group, and that is a good way. You just join a public game. That's a good way of getting it done. Once you've beaten it and you get back into the game, we're going to equip a pet. I always forget this, always near enough guaranteed. Obviously helps with pickup radius, and then we're going to put on some cosmetics just so that we can look baller. Now in the challenge with goodie bag, once we've beaten it, we're going to get some stuff, and very important, all of this stuff, materials, we get enough to make a two-handed level 70 weapon, which we can then re-roll one of the secondary properties to try and get really big level reduce requirements. So maybe we can start equipping a level 70 weapon at level 40 if we got the perfect roll. We can also craft early weapons. So for a monk, for example, we might go two-handed axe, maybe 8, 16, 21. We can then pop those on the character, and finding a new weapon at level 8, level 16, so on and so forth, can be really powerful early on. Cuts down on the RNG, so we're not waiting on a weapon for a big damage increase. We're also going to get some Death's Breaths. These are going to be fantastic. We get 1 upgrade and 1 upgrade only in the cube. Not so hot for monk, but we will go through that in detail. Maybe next slide, I think it is. Gold, super underrated. We get a lot of gold. We can buy stuff from vendors. This will help us out as we go. Get to 70 so much faster. After 70, pretty meaningless, but up until 70, buying gear is quite useful. We also get 475 blood shards. These are going to be handy to roll stuff. Monk Crudest boots obviously is going to be the way to go, so yeah, potentially very handy. Some early steps before we set off. What we're going to do is we're going to steal the follower's weapon. If you don't want to be a douche, you can buy one from a vendor. Whilst you're there, have a look for some life per second gear. Very handy for those early levels, particularly until you get your Templar leveled up. Obviously higher the Templar as well. Probably should have put that on there, but a bit of a no-brainer. I still start every season with a boss bounty, so either Magda or Zoltan Cool. Just getting that chest full of items is very handy. It takes barely any time to beat them, and they are super easy. So maybe on hard, maybe harder, at higher difficulty, but normal is fine. You're just looking for the items, really. After that, I'm then going to go and get the cube. This is in Act 3 Runes of Session. You have to go down to the 2nd level. You can get some really good masker bonuses done whilst doing this, so it is kind of nice for XP. Again, just do it on whatever difficulty you can. So if that's hard or above, fine. If it's normal, fine. You just don't want to get caught dying repeatedly and it taking a long time. Once you've got the cube and you're back at town, train Hadrig, train the Mystic, and then we can move on to the fun stuff, which is spending and gambling and that kind of thing. Now, in terms of upgrading weapons, there are 2 choices. The first is the two-handed daibo. This is definitely the way that I would recommend, and these 4 options here that you can hit all have a 12.5% chance, and that is the Flow of Eternity, buffing up 7-sided strike, a balance, which would buff up Tempest Rush. We've got a Flying Dragon, which would be amazing. This would be the best choice because it would help us with leveling, because it gives us a chance of double attack speed. The Mystic Allies love this, and also Inners at 6-piece loves this as well. And then we've also got the Incense Torch of the Grand Temple, which buffs up Wave of Flight. I've put 50% chance of being shit out of luck because the other 4 don't really have modifiers on them, but if you think about it, you do have the inner daibo in those 4 options. Completely useless for leveling, but when you get to 17 you can equip it. It does have a nice Mystic Ally damage roll on it, and also it's an inner piece, so you only have to get 1 more inner piece, and you can do a convert item in the cube, convert set item, so you might be able to get your inner piece and get your 6 piece bonus up. That's happened to me a few times in the past. It is pretty good. I would definitely be doing a 2-handed daibo, but if you don't want to do that, you can do fist weapons. There are many more fist weapons in the loot pool, so each of these options is about a 7% chance. You can get yourself a Kirishira's Blade that buffs Wave of Light, Lan Kim Lao that does Tempest Rush, Scarbringer for Lashing Tail Kick, or a Fist of Arts for Exploding Palm. I've put those 4 in. There are other options, but those 4, we can potentially get other modifiers to go with it. And then I've put Shit Out of Luck 57% because 57% of them are completely useless whilst leveling. Now, for both of these upgrades and the crafting of these things, check them for the reduced level. It only takes a quick glance, but you never know. You might make a 2-handed daibo, might already have level requirement reduction on it. You might upgrade yourself and get a Inners one, and it might be ancient, and it might have level requirement reduction 40, so do check them. Pros and cons, 2-handed daibo, as I say, I think that is the clear choice for me. You've got a better chance of getting something that might be useful. I mean, being honest, you're probably just going to go for the Crudest boots anyway. It's the most important thing with the blood shards. Again, we'll get onto that in the next slide. But you can maybe try and pair some of the fist weapons with some of the combinations of other things you can get with blood shards. But my strong recommendation is the 2-handed daibo. Blood shards, this is of immense importance for the monk because you're going to roll boots and you're hoping to get the Crudest boots. We've stuck them in gold because they are just the golden standard of leveling. Mystic Ally being buffed by Crudest boots is amazing. You will probably be able to do Torment 4 from when you get these and can stick them on the character, which will be level 16. You've got a 62% chance if you spend all of your blood shards on these, so more likely than not, but you still might crap out. You might get Rivera Dancers, which buff up Lashing Tail Kick. That's a decent skill. We used to use that a bit for leveling a monk in the past. Again, you know, there is the weapon you can get to go with it. 62% chance of getting specifically Rivera Dancers. If you're just saying, well, I'm happy if I hit either of them, well, that is going to be a 86.5% chance. So Shit Out of Luck probability 13.5%. Look, it does happen. You can roll all 475 blood shards and get absolutely bupkis. You know, it's just one of those things. Does happen. Some other things you can consider spending blood shards on are braces. So again, we're looking to maybe pair some of the options we've covered in the weapons. Gundo gear for Exploding Palm, 44% chance of getting those. Obviously, because there's 3 braces in the loot pool level 1, the probabilities do go down a little bit. Pinto's Pride, slight error in the slides here. This says Lashing Tail Kick. That's complete garbage. It actually buffs up Wave of Light. And then Season Memento, that will give us a nice buff to the Tempest Rush. Shit Out of Luck, again, you could spend all your blood shards and braces, and 13.5% of the time you wouldn't get anything. But obviously Crudest boots is going to be the best. Now let's say you are super lucky, you get Crudest boots on the first or second go. Other things to consider at level 1 would be the Leoric's Crown. This will give you more XP because it enhances the gem that you put into it, so you could get more XP. And also Poxfolds will help with Massacre bonus leveling, and particularly until you get the Water Ally rune on the Mystic Allies, it will be quite a big boon for that. Very important is the 2-handed mace upgrade. You can craft a level 71. Again, check for reduced requirement before you do anything. But it does work with axes, but maces just have a little bit more damage. You're looking for something with crowd control on the secondary. Ideally, it's going to have life per hit on the primary stats. One of those 4 stats will be life per hit. You're going to re-roll the secondary that is not crowd control. So you leave crowd control on, pick the other one, roll it, and you're hoping for level reduction. Anything above 20 is a keeper. Just be careful, you can run out of resources doing this. So you can get tight on gold if you just keep re-rolling the same piece over and over again, and you can very easily run out of veiled crystals if you make too many level 70 weapons trying to get one with life per hit and the crowd control. So just be a little careful with that. Here's an example. So we've got one on the left. This is shit because it has got no crowd control. If we were to pick and try and roll off either of those two secondary properties, we'd have all the crowd controls in there. So immobilize, fear, stun, freeze, blah, blah, blah. There's loads of them. It's rubbish. In the middle is the most likely one you're going to get, which has got a crowd control on it. It's a 3.4 chance to immobilize. It's not got life per hit, but if you re-roll that, so you leave the crowd control on, you re-roll the one above it, monster kills grant 116 XP, re-roll that, anything over 20 on the reduced level would be great, and you'll just do massive damage and start annihilating everything. And obviously you can crank the difficulty up as you do. On the right hand side, we've got the absolute perfect option here. This has got life per hit on one of its primary stats. It's got the crowd control, the 1.1% chance to slow on hit on the secondary. We've actually maxed out on the perfect roll for 30 level requirement. Really annoying because I think that was my second roll when I made that, so that is my season ripped. In terms of areas where to level, early on, Halls of Agony are pretty good. This is in Act 1, the monsters are slow, they're easy to beat, you can build yourself up a nice massacre bonus there. Fields of Misery, again, is a kind of classic area to level in Act 1, big open field, bit more dangerous because you've got spear chuckers, they will cause you a lot of damage, but again, a good area for building up a nice big chain, because obviously the longer your massacre bonus is, the more bonus XP you're getting. I've put the Temple of the Firstborn in gold. This is in Act 2, some people know it as Cursed Chest leveling, and what you're going to do is massacre bonus all your way up to a cursed chest, and then hopefully extend that massacre bonus by using the chest. Not always does the chest spawn in that area, but it does have quite a high spawn rate. If you get bored of that, Ruins of Sescheron is another good place. Obviously we went there to get the cube at the start of this run. What I would say is that if you open a new game and it's got a cursed chest event in Ruins of Sescheron, it might well be the one on the second level. You can then massacre bonus all the way through the first level, all the way through the second, and do the cursed chest event there. So again, that's only if you're getting bored. Also, the less boring option is Rifts. You get the dynamic maps, you get the dynamic monsters. You're going to actually get better item drop rates, more chance of legendary items, but it is definitely slower than doing these kind of massacre bonusing, and in particular cursed chests. One thing to bear in mind though, if you are a console player, you do actually benefit from massacre bonusing in Rifts, so it does make it much more attractive, but you do have to kind of think about, well, sometimes the maps are bad, sometimes the density's bad, so whether it's better or not to do that than the Temple of the Firstborn, up to you, but rifting is certainly much more appealable on console. Some leveling tips. I've put this in red because I do think this is worthwhile mentioning. Do the highest difficulty that you can that is comfortable for you. So you want to go as high as you can, because the higher you do it, the more XP. If you're going for massacre bonusing, you're looking for the Goldilocks zone. So if you kill things too fast and it's too easy, you won't be able to make chains together. If you kill things too slow and you're dying all the time, well, that's no good either. So again, you just kind of have to play that by ear. And the more times you level, the more you'll kind of get where to pitch this. Red gem always in the helm. Helm with a socket is so powerful. Even if you get one that's better and it doesn't have a socket, I wouldn't be swapping. You want to put a red gem in for XP. Again, you can combine gems as you go. So if you find a few lower level red gems, you can always take them to the jeweler, upgrade them, and just the best red gem you have in your helm is going to make your journey 1 to 70 so much faster. Similarly, if you do happen to be uber lucky and get another red gem, that goes in your weapon for extra damage. Again, if you have a socket, but if you don't have a socket, well, not much you can do about that. I would transmog anything you craft, so those early axes that we talked about, transmog them and then you can't auto salvage them. Again, this doesn't work on console, sadly. And then the next tip, really just for a bit more damage, is I think level 8, level 11, you want to start looking out for rings and amulets from the various vendors across any of the acts in Sanctuary. You just want the affix plus damage. It's a huge boost early on. If we talk more about cursed chest leveling, this is the method that I'll be using with hopefully whoever I'm playing with. I would recommend fully exploring the zone because there are quite a few resplendent chests that'll help you out with gear, and you never know, you might get lucky and get a legendary out of them. The actual cursed chest can spawn quite far into the zone, doesn't have to be right at the start. So I do recommend going the whole way around it, because again, it is quite good to mask a bonus level even if you don't get the chest. There's lots of those little bugs you can kind of chain together. Any damage over time skill is going to make this easier. If you can put a dot on something, you can then walk away to the next target. The dot still ticks, the masker streak carries on. And again, similarly, range skills are pretty nice because you can then kite things along, you can fire backwards down the map, keep your streak going. And obviously, if you've got a nice AoE skill, the more that you can hit, the bigger area. Again, it's just going to make this easier. I've popped in red here, check vendors after each run. Again, I'm pretty bad for forgetting this, but at the end of each run, particularly up to about level 40, level 50, it's very easy to get really good upgrades. You know, if you jump from like level 14 up to level 22 and forget to do this, well, by the time you look at the vendors, there might be some decent gear. Gold's very cheap, provided you haven't spent it all doing the reroll, and it will give you a good power boost. Again, you can do a boss bounty if you want to take a little bit of time away from doing the masker bonusing, and that might give you a gear boost. I normally don't bother, but I've popped it on there anyway. For monk skills for leveling, it really does depend on what you get out your challenge rift bag. Obviously, you're building with whatever modifiers you have. Exploding palm is a very nice DOS that does last a decent amount of time, and we've popped Mystic Ally plus the boots. So the Crudest boots is GG run. That's what we're all hoping for. So I've got my fingers crossed for you. If you are doing this, then chances are you are, as we say, Torment 3, Torment 4. You're going to be pretty squishy at that level. So you're looking to basically pick things like Serenity, which will block incoming damage. Obviously, you get the rune that extends the duration of that a little bit later on. Dashing Strike with the rune that gives dodge chance is very good. The dodge chance passive is very good. Basically, you're just trying to keep yourself alive whilst the Mystic Allies go bananas and kill everything for you. Now, it'll probably only take about an hour or two to get to 70, depending on your lookout, your challenge drift, depending on how good you are at masker bonusing. When you do get to 70, you're going to start to get inner pieces, and this is an S tier set. So the 2 pieces, Mystic Ally gains passive effect doubling, and also your base mantra is doubled. Fairly handy. Again, if you do get the inner daibo at your upgrade, the Mystic Allies will be doing more damage for you. The 4-piece, you get the base effect of all mantras at all times, and 5% damage reduction for each Mystic Ally. Mystic Allies also don't take any damage. 6-piece, you get all passive rune effects from Mystic Ally, and you generate them when you hit stuff, and you get big Mystic Ally damage. Very important, if you didn't get the Crudest boots whilst leveling, you can make a level 1 monk and pick them up. Obviously, they're super important. Some tips at 70, nothing earth-shattering here, but Sage's set is craftable, so when you initially hit 70, I would be looking to get that done. Just craft 3 pieces immediately. That'll give you a stat boost, it'll give you some extra DBs, and you can always pass them on to your follower after you've got them, because they do emanate, so you will be getting the extra DBs. But initially, 250 to your main stat to vitality, is going to be pretty handy. Obviously, this I'm sure goes without saying, but complete your season journey just as fast as you can. You want to get your 6-piece inner up immediately, but do remember you can convert set item in the cube. So if you do get lucky and you find yourself a couple of stray inner pieces, do convert them. You get your 6-piece done immediately. It's very handy, and obviously, that has happened to me a couple of times, so you can get lucky. A level 1 monk, I've put this in red because it is so super important. Roll for Crudest boots if you didn't get them whilst leveling, and anything else that we talked about. So gold wrap, Leoric's crown if you want one. It's a good little way to kind of circumvent some RNG, just extract the stuff into the cube. Obviously level 16 Crudest boots, not going to do your 70 character much good, but they can go in the cube. In terms of upgrades, when you get to 70s, this is using the cube recipe from the start, finding items or crafting them with Hadrig and then upgrading them. Inner modifier, binding the lesser gods, very important. So all of my DBs initially at 70 are going into braces, trying to find these. Once I've hit them, I'm then going to move on and go for a flying dragon. Double attack speed chance is pretty important for inner. That's probably going to be my next pickup. After that, we're going to look to build out jewelry. So we're going for rings or amulets, convention of elements, stone of Jordan, focus and restraint are pretty important. Squirt's necklace is pretty important. Once I've got some decent rings and amulet, I'm then going to move on to weapons. Probably going to go for Messerschmitt's Reaver, trying to get a 1 second cooldown off all my abilities early on. That's a two-handed axe, quite easy to get. For a sword, Endgame, big tip here, make a Demon Hunter, level 1 Demon Hunter, upgrade swords in the cube, level 70 swords, you'll hit an Endgame much faster. There's very few swords in the DH loot pool, and there's quite a lot in the monk one, so it'll take you a long time to find an Endgame. Another item to consider is Lefebvre's. So this is the shoulders, 50% damage reduction after using Cyclone Strike. Again, a lot of the time you're going to be taking that with Inner. For blood shards, again at 70, I'm going to spend all of them on braces until I get the Binding of the Lesser Gods. You want that Inner modifier ASAP. Once I've got that, I'm going to move on to doing rings. Again, we talked about these conventional elements: Stone of Jordan, Focus and Restraint, Puzzle Rings, Zodiac would be good. There's lots of rings in the pool. Once I've got a couple that I'm happy with, I'm then going to move on. I'm going to go for raiment pieces to build out my bounty build, because raiment and Inner Monk together is probably the best bounty build in the game. Speaking of bounties, in terms of a shopping list, once we've been doing these upgrades, we're going to try and find ourselves the Crimson's plans and the Ring of Royal Grandeur. Both of those two things come from bounties. Inner Monk can crush bounties, so we're off to a good start. Legendary gems, you obviously want your Enforcer, you want a Trapped, Powerful, maybe you want to get yourself a Gogok of Swiftness maybe. Gold Wrap, Boon of the Hoarder, generally for T16 is going to be quite handy on the shopping list. And as we say, raiment pieces for the bounty build is going to be pretty handy. Now, once you've got all this stuff, you're going to be pretty powerful. And what you're going to do, well, that's up to you. You're going to use Inner for T16 to get your keys. You're going to use Inner to speed GRs and gain Paragon, gain gem levels, gain Petrified Screams. You're then going to use your Inner Monk to crush Echoing Nightmares and try and get as high as you can. And you're just going to rinse and repeat that. And this should add quite a lot of Paragon fairly early, so we'll kind of have to see. Any gems you get, you're going to stick them on ancient pieces to augment them. You are going to need gems. We will be covering that in a future video, but in terms of specific videos for the monk, T16 refresher, I'm going to get that done tomorrow hopefully, or might even be Friday, but we will get one up I think before the season starts. I'll link the best bounty build in the game, which is the Inner Monk. That I think didn't use the ethereals in the ethereal season, so I will link that video. Definitely the fastest and easiest bounty build in my opinion, so again, that'll be in the comments. But other than that, that should be the starter guide. We should hopefully have left you with a fully decked out Inner Monk. Hopefully speaking, you know how to build one, or you've watched the videos. Any feedback is welcome. Would it have been beneficial to maybe have gone through the Inner Monk in detail in this? If we do more of these, I've scripted the Demon Hunter one, so I'm probably not going to change that. But for next season, I'm keen to improve the videos, try and make them better for you. And are there any specific videos that you want to see early on in the season? As always, thumbs up, brighten my day. Subscribe if you're interested in Diablo 3, and very appreciative of the super thanks. Thanks to Philip for the last one. That was Pog. Always nice for any financial support, because it does make making these videos easier to justify to the good lady wife. Right, I'll see you on the season. Going to be really good. Take it easy, guys. Peace.